Hello boys and girls, this is Richard the Dick Coughlan, and hello to John the other. I'm very sorry that it's taken me so long to get back to you when I said that I would. I was ill for quite a few days and then I've been quite busy. Now, for those who don't know, John, there's a user called John the other. His name's John, and he's the other John. I don't know what that. He's bald. He's from Canada. That's as exciting as it gets for you, I think. I'm joking. John made a response to me. It wasn't really a response to a video I'd made. But he was asking a question sort of regarding my whole sort of EDL, the sort of moves I made about the EDL, the BNP, and it was actually a proper response made, but asking what I think is a valid question. I'm going to try and answer it as best as I can, John. Here we go. If you don't mind, John, I'll link to your video, but I'm just going to read the question you put in the description box. It pretty much sums up everything quite succinctly, really, doesn't it? So, right. Isn't it just as narrow and ignorant to point to a racist, hyper-nationalistic member of reactionary political parties such as the EDL with open scorn when we fail to look for the social or the economic causes which provide fertile grounds for the emergence of such reactionary movements? The short answer to that is no. I'll expand now. You've said a lot in there, and I think it needs to be addressed. Now, I first of all like to say that I don't feel that what I do just heaps scorn on, and it's not really about the EDL, it's about an idea. And as you said, hyper-nationalism, if you want to call it hyper-nationalism, racism, and you want to talk about heaping scorn, John. I'm sure I know you've been reading the comments of your video, and you've seen a lot of scorn heaped upon me it's like a sort of support group. It's like an anti-Coughlan support group for the video you've made. There's all videos there, comments by Amit, all the others. Someone said I was going to call you a racist. Why the fuck would I call you a racist? You're not a racist, as far as I know. But let's point to a lot of things here. I don't heap scorn upon them. I've responded to them, you know, I respond in various different ways. I mean, I've done a few piss takes of them. I've responded in many ways. Many of the videos I've done are very just sort of pointing out factual things about them. They're quite and I learnt a long time ago, John, as I'm sure you've probably learnt, dealing with radical feminists, that there comes a point when you realise that with certain people, it doesn't matter whether you are full on 100% fucking hateful and with them, or you're reasonable and nice and go, hello, can we have a chat about this? They're the same. They react the same, regardless of it. So it comes to a point that it doesn't actually matter. As far as looking for the social and economic causes, well, groups like the EDL have always existed in this country, regardless of the sort of state we've been in, whether there's been an economic upturn or an economic downturn, or whatever. They've always existed. The EDL, by the way, are not a political party. I should point that out to you, because that's something that's the question implied. They're not a political party. It's not a big deal, but they're not really even an organisation. The EDL are set up primarily for Tommy Robinson to con money out of people. Now, Tommy Robinson used to be a BNP member. He was for many years. Now, in basically before pre-7/7. Now 7/7 in this country was the suicide bomb attacks in London. Pre-7/7, it happened in 2006. Or was it 2005? I can't fucking remember. It was one of them, right? Details doesn't matter, right? But the pre that attack, the BNP were all about race, and they would focus on racial groups primarily. They would talk openly about white people and Asians and blacks. And then 7/7 happened, and then they found they could do what they could do with that is they could take this Muslim problem, if you will, and they could extrapolate it into there. Because when you say to someone in a Western country, think of a Muslim, what do they think of? They think of brown-skinned bloke, beard, looking foreign, right? It taps in to that xenophobic, racist core in people. You never see a picture of a white Muslim. You never see a picture of a Muslim who looks like me, sat here in a wrestling t-shirt with his beard. You'll never see that. So, and so after 7/7, the BNP decided that they were going to focus primarily on Muslims, and they were going to talk. They were going to use different coded language, if you will, for it. As far as heaping, now what Tommy Robinson did was he left the BNP, took that idea and created a very loose, loosely connected group. They're not even an organisation. I mean, they don't have a fucking. You don't to be a member. If you ask Tommy Robinson or any EDL member, say how many members have the EDL got, they'll say something like 50,000 or some ludicrous number like that. They're basing that primarily on their Facebook page, which is kind of a bad gauge because I'm a member of the EDL Facebook group. So I even get EDL fucking newsletters they send out because I'm on their mailing list. You know, so it's a very bad gauge. They don't have a clue how many members they've got. The reason for this is because Tommy Robinson wanted to avoid doing things like paperwork, keeping track of things. You know, some of the things they've done include conning charities, conning money out of people under the guise that it's for charity, when in fact they've actually kept it. I was part of I'm part of one of the reasons why myself and many other people who do stuff about the EDL online made several videos. I made a video last year. It was called the Exploiting Death League, where I gave examples of English Defence League exploiting various charitable causes in order to take money. And as a result of that, within the next month, the EDL's PayPal account was shut down. The EDL are not an organisation set up. Now, I get what you're saying. There's a cause for it. But you're kind of looking at it in a narrow way. You're saying, what's the social and economic cause of the EDL? There's an economic or social decline that's led to the EDL. Yeah, but there's also something that led to that decline beforehand. And every cause is an effect, and every effect is a cause. I would say the EDL are not so much just an effect of an economic or social downturn. They are also a cause of it. Now, you can look to certain... I agree with you, you've got to look to other means, but that's not... There's nothing I can do about that, John, in all fairness to it. What can I do? I'm one man with a camera, and I've only got so many hours in the fucking day. There's not much I can do about this. My thing, but I like to hold people responsible for what they do. And I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying you saying they should be held responsible. What I'm saying is there's only so much I can do. I don't know much. I don't know. But what can I do about the economy? There's not much I can do. But what I can do is I can regulate as best I can based on what I understand. And so when I sort of heap scorn on the English Defence League, or when I make videos to them, I'm not ignoring the fact that there's going to be a root cause to anything and everything, as there is to any problem in life. But that cause, the cause that they also have an effect. And that what the effect of the EDL is, it's leading to more social decline in that respect. Now, there's also one other thing that's very interesting, and I wouldn't expect you to know this because obviously you're from Canada. I'll leave a link to this below. The fact is that you're right. That there is this idea, and there's this idea that there is a great deal of when we're in a sort of economic and social decline period, it's fertile ground for an organisation like the EDL or the BNP. But the interesting thing is that's not the case at the moment. In this country, the case at the moment is that these groups are actually on the decline. The EDL are actually on the decline. When they go to their towns to do their protest now, the counter demonstrations are outnumbering them. In Walsall, it was 20. In Walthamstow, it was 20 to 1. 20 counter protesters for every one EDL protester. Now, and also the problem is, it's so obvious that the EDL members, I'm sure there were a lot of the EDL members that have bailed because they're realising what people like me have been saying for a long time. Tommy Robinson's taking you for a fucking ride. And recently there was a demo in Walsall, right? And in the Walsall demo it kicked off. There was a big fight, and there began this sort of like rumour started by some EDL. What have you? Some EDL members, they posted a blog saying that 3 Muslims had admitted to infiltrating. Whenever the EDL get in trouble, it's always people infiltrating. It's never their fault. And that's a theme that sort of plays out with them. But they claim that 3 Muslims had infiltrated and kicked off and started throwing missiles at the police. Now, the biggest problem with this is you would think if you're at an EDL march and 3 Muslims turn up and start throwing things, that someone would notice. But no, it took someone afterwards to point this out to them. And so you end up with these people making it. Now, Tommy Robinson tweeted out this story going, 3 Muslims admit to infiltrating the EDL. Now, someone pointed out that if you look at the video footage of the EDL march in Warsaw, made by their own members, that this was clearly bollocks. That it was EDL members throwing things. And Tommy Robinson, on Twitter, on his public Twitter account, says, I never said it was true, and I'm not bothered. Just putting it out there. Now, when you've got a guy publicly admitting that he doesn't give a shit about the truth, and people are still willing to follow this guy, that's something I can't ignore. I can't sit there and make excuses for him and say, oh, well, this is all part of some other big problem. Because the EDL are part of a problem themselves. I'll leave a link to an article below that explains in greater detail the fact that the EDL... But here's the thing. Whenever... I'm going to stand up for this bit. Now, whenever the EDL or BNP members come onto my videos, they like to play into this idea that I'm some sort of upper middle class, university educated, just come out of... living off some trust fund baby... who's just come living off mummy and daddy. I live in some nice little white suburban area. I live in Dunfermline in Scotland. I live on an estate called Touch, which is spelt Touch, touch, but it's pronounced Touch. It is universal. When I tell people I live in Touch, they're like, really? You live in Touch? It's universally accepted around here. This is the roughest estate in the fucking area. Right, I can only just show you out the window. I don't know how much you can see, but it's not. This is not some fucking like nice little area of upper middle class suburbia. And this is my whole life I've spent living in places like that. I've always lived on estates. I've always lived in worked shitty low paid jobs. I've never been affluent to any fucking degree. I've grown up and lived in the same fucking social and economic circumstances as every single EDL member. You'll struggle to find an EDL member whose economic and social background is any worse than mine, right? I went to a state school under Thatcherism, okay? That's how fucking bad it got for me. I've never had shitload. I've had like $1,000 in the bank at most in my life, right? That's it. I live wage slip by wage slip, working a job just over minimum wage, right? Right? Now, but the difference between me and an EDL member, the difference between me and the BNP is I didn't sit there and say, right, I'm going to blame everyone else but me for the circumstances I continue to find myself in. I'm going to blame everyone else for this. This is what it's all about. This is what the EDL thing is all about. This is what the BNP thing is all about. It's what all of this hyper-nationalistic fucking stuff is about. It's not my fault. It's their fault. I'm not responsible for anything I do in my fucking life. I wasn't responsible for where I was fucking born. But I chose instead of fucking getting upset about it and sort of sitting there blaming, running around saying, oh, if we kick the Muslims out, oh, if we sort of separate the blacks out, oh, if we get rid of the fucking gays, or whatever, I'm going to be fine. My life will suddenly become this magical, wondrous fucking thing to live in. And it won't. right? It's going to take a hell of a lot more than that. But these people don't want to fucking accept that. They want to sit there and say, they want to go for the easy solution. What's the quickest solution? Let's find a group, let's blame them, and let's take that. Now, I've grown up in the same circumstances as these people, and yet somehow I've managed to fucking have a much more sort of informed outlook on it. And I've managed to get an outlook that's not based on hatred, that's not based on fear, and it's not based on the fucking idea that everything else is one person's fault or one group's fucking fault. It's all our fucking fault. You know? That's it. Now, if I can do it, right? If I can sit there and I can fucking work that out, there's no excuse for any EDL member. And that's the biggest fucking problem that any EDL member or BNP member has with me. It's not the fact that I fucking constantly trip them up along the way and I stubble their fucking toes all the fucking time. The problem they have is the fact that I come from the same fucking background as them. I come from the same area as them, and yet I'm not the one making fucking excuses for myself. I'm not the one blaming everyone else and trying to fucking run around and cause shit to everyone. And that's really the EDL's biggest accomplishment, because when they go and do their protests all over the country, the biggest fucking thing you notice now is everyone's chanting EDL get out, fuck off home, we don't want you here. But it's basically like a cross between a football riot and rambling is what they basically do. The one thing they've managed to do is make the people of this country a little bit more tolerant and appreciative of the Muslim community who live here, because it's not the Muslims who are going out marching. Is it? It's not the Muslims who are going out marching every week for the last 3 years, smashing the shit out of every other fucking town and village in this country. It's not them, it's the EDL. And people are finally cottoning on, saying, you know what, you guys are a bunch of fucking louts. That's all you fucking are. Right? There's no excuse for what you do. They've actually made Islam look good. That's the one achievement they've had, right? So, in answer to your question, John, that's the full answer, right? No, I don't think what I do is just as narrow-minded, because it's based on information, it's based on reason, it's based on logic, it's based on common sense, and it's based on the principle that, you know what, you can't go around blaming everyone else for your fucking problems in life, you know what I mean? I hope that's answered your question, John. If it isn't, God help us, but I'll see you later, mate, and everyone else, good night, may God bless.